In just a few days, Arc Raiders drops. If you never heard of it, consider this your crash course into the world and the lore and mechanics behind it all, and what might just make this game worth checking out. So to get the basics out the way, there is crossplay and cross progression available. The game will be available on launch day on PC via Steam, Epic Games, and Nvidia GeForce Now, as well as consoles for PS5 and Xbox. Arc Raiders is classified as a third-person extraction shooter with PvE, PvP dynamics. Although there is PvP involved, they may not always be the main threat, but more on that later. The game is made by Embark Studios, the same team that made the game The Finals, and some of those developers who started the studio were also part of the creation of previous Battlefield titles, and no, we're not talking about Battlefield 2042. To appreciate the beauty of the world of Arc Raiders, you have to understand how we got there. The year's 2180. What was once a home for humanity on Earth has become the fall of civilization. An invasion of machines known as the Ark took over the surface, and those of wealth and power were able to escape to off-world colonies, but what was left behind were millions of lives left to stand against the Ark. Many of those lives were lost, and those who survived built underground communities and systems to survive. Nobody knows where the Ark came from or what they were here for exactly. But in order to survive, it was no secret that the resources from above the ground were needed. This created demand for survivors brave enough to go to the top side, and that was the beginning to Arc Raiders. And this is who you play as in the game, an Arc Raider. Arc Raiders come from many different settlements, but all gather in the central hub of Speranza. Speranza is your main hub as a player, where you will manage your inventory, gear up for your next raid, deal with traders for quests and items, and do any upgrades and craftings. Build on your skill tree and manage any overall progression. The overall game loop here is for the most part pretty standard for any extraction shooter. Gear up, go in and fight to survive, either find better loot, complete quests, or kill other players and take theirs, hope you extract, and if not, you die with your loot. Get back to the bottom side, gear back up, and hope you come out stronger the next time. Once you finish your preparation, then it's time to deploy to the top side, but you do have options, and this is where Arc Raiders feels like a breath of fresh air to the genre.
Hey, don't shoot!
The game is 3-man party based, but you can queue up as a solo, duo, or trio, and as a solo or duo queue player, you can queue up with the option of filling your squad with random players, or keep it off and go in as is. Queuing up as a solo or duo queue player with the option of fill squad turned off, the game will prioritize putting you in lobbies with other players who are also solo or duo players with this option turned off. This gives you the most optimal and balanced experience as opposed to previous entries in the extraction shooter genre, where solo and duo queue players were forced to fight 3 to 4 man teams. Spawning into the game starts you off at a random spawn point on the map, and with raiders having limited time on the top side before they have to rendezvous, this leaves you 30 minutes to choose your path and make the most of it before having to utilize one of the elevator extractions, assuming you actually make it out. Elevator extractions can be used by yourself, with your teammates, or with enemy players. And the cool thing that Arc Raiders really did is they added the ability for you to get downed. So unlike most extraction shooters where you just die instantly, you can get down. You can also get revived, but you as a down player can crawl to the extraction point and actually get yourself out, which is definitely something unique and just gives you that little bit of extra hope. The extraction points on the map are open to anybody to use. You can spawn right next to an extraction point and use that very same one, or you could run across the map and use a different one. They're all open, but they are timer based, so once that clock reaches 0, that extraction can no longer be used. Now the immersiveness that this game brings is amazing. From everything from the visuals to the sound effects to the music, everything is very well done. But the one really cool thing is the visual alertness in this game, and that goes from the way they made decisions on the small things in the game, such as hit markers. There are no traditional hit markers, only visual indications of when you hit someone's shield, hit them directly, or down someone, or bring an awareness to when someone calls the elevator for extraction. Whereas in other extraction shooters, you may never know if someone made it out or if they're still on the map unless you literally see them running to the extraction. Now there's revealed to be 4 maps at launch, with the 5th map already being teased. Maps will have different variations such as nighttime, rain, and potentially even a snow variation. Each map will have its own unique aesthetic and host a number of POIs that will rank in rarity for farthest the loot that you can find. Speaking of loot, it doesn't appear that the gun's rarity will necessarily increase the damage, but rather the way the gun works. So with these modifications, you're able to find a unique playstyle for yourself and create an advantage rather than a simple power buff just for finding a rare weapon. Weapons will have the ability for modification in terms of grips, barrels, and stocks. And if I'm not mistaken, the only scope in the game will be for a sniper rifle. The weapon types consist of pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, battle rifles, sniper rifles, light machine guns, SMGs, and some sort of beam or charge rifle, as well as consumables, utility equipment, lethal and tactical grenades. The overall system for the weapons and ammo types are not very complex, but they do offer variation, which I believe is more important than having a complex system. Games like Tarkov offered a very in-depth system in terms of ammo types and where you dealt damage, which could be nice, but for most players it was too complex of a system to have to keep up with, and offering a system that's easy to digest but still offers a player options. Now on to the main threats. As far as player base, there's roughly about 15 to 20 players in most games, with some people reporting up to 20 plus people in a game, but players aren't always going to be the main threat or the main focus. You have your standard archetypes such as the fireball Roombas, as I call them, ticks, wasps, hornets, and snitches that you'll pretty much encounter at any given time. Then you have your mid tier such as the rocketeers, bastions, bombardiers, and leapers that'll be lurking around the POIs. These will take a little bit more effort to kill, especially as a solo or duo, which is why it's important to pick your pathing and always take note of how much ammo and resources you have. Then, far as we're aware of, the queen will be the highest tier enemy we face. Now, I'll be honest, I have no idea what it takes to kill the queen, but I can only imagine. Now, supposedly there's bigger threats than the queen, but we'll have to wait and see what the devs surprise us with as the game goes on. Many games were created from this genre, but most have either failed or didn't innovate past the idea of escape from Tarkov. One of the biggest flaws for this style of game is long-term progression and replayability. Games like this are usually affected by server wipes and lack of content and ideas to keep the game fresh, to bring back both veteran and new players. Devs said they will be trying their own take on server wipes that essentially respects both the veteran player and the average player that isn't able to sink in a bunch of hours into the game or is overall new to the game. Overall, my confidence is in the devs as they seem ambitious enough to push the boundaries of the genre, but are willing to be receptive to player feedback as well to ultimately create the best balanced experience from both the players and developers' perspective. At $40, ARC stands out in a market where most games launch at $70 to $80. Often unfinished or lacking content. That alone makes it far more inviting for FPS and extraction fans or anyone curious about what this world has to offer. You'll easily get your money's worth in playtime, but I also see this as a long-term live service product that devs will keep building into something bigger. The foundation's there, rich lore, room for both PvP and PvE content, and I'm really hoping they expand it beyond the game itself, maybe even through short films or other media. Fingers crossed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. We'll definitely be on ARC Raiders when it comes out. More content coming, and I'll see you on the top side.
What is it?
It's the TheARCGuy, brother. It's the LMG.
The what? The El Horante. What the hell?
Yes, sir. TheARCGuy.
Yo, let me see you shoot it, bro.
Medium ammo. You know, little gun. Pretty nice.
Yo, do a 8 round little runoff for me real quick.
Yeah, 8 rounds. I'll make it rain. All right, boy. Good night.
Good night, bro. Hey, see you in the real game, bro.